way tonight?
Well, they will have had discussions. Now, I will tell you, even if there is a decision, the decision will not be publicly disclosed under the meet and confer, while their recommendation now becomes public, no matter whether it's to discipline or not to discipline, or whether the chief disciplines or not. It cannot be publicly disclosed until such time as the chief has actually made his decision.
Do we know when that's expected?
You'd have to ask the chief of police that question.
So that final word would come from the chief.
The final word would come from the chief. The investigation has been completed now for a couple of weeks, and as of now, there's not what's called a disciplinary review hearing. There's not been one scheduled yet. When that occurs, I attend those hearings, and I will have made my personal recommendation to the chief, both in writing and to be present at the hearing.
So, just so I'm crystal clear,
Yes.
there could be, or we're expecting a recommendation tonight, a decision by you guys.
You will not
And
do
then-
anything publicly from the
Yes, ma'am,
panel.
I understand
They're
that.
prohibited by law.
But there will be a decision. We won't know about it, but you'll let the chief know, so he will know tonight or tomorrow?
I won't communicate to the chief until the panel is prepared for me to communicate to the chief. I mean, normally what happens is that we will wait and the panel will prepare their written recommendation so that it's clear to the chief what they feel.
I think what Shelton is wanting to clarify is there an opportunity that you guys could come back and meet on another day to continue the discussion and then make a decision and then write it and send it to the chief?
They could.
Okay.
I mean, at the panel, I've not had that happen since I've been here for almost 3 years, but if the panel felt that they did not have sufficient time, they certainly could. Most likely what we would do at that point, since we don't need to have a public meeting place, the panel would come to my office and meet.
So help us understand why this was on the agenda. Did the citizens review panel or you called for this to be on the agenda, or did someone else?
In discussion with when we are particular officer-involved shootings, I coordinate with Chief Acevedo as far as timing of cases, and he had asked that. If you'll recall, a couple weeks ago, we actually had a special meeting to consider Officer Bain's case. And so we did that and made the recommendation, and those recommendations are public since the officer was disciplined. Both I and the panel recommended that he be indefinitely suspended. And so I asked him, I told him our next meeting was October 7th, and we wouldn't have another one until November 4th, and he asked that we go forward with having the case presented to the panel at this time.
My last thing, unless these folks have something, but what do you say to citizens who criticize the CRP and your office for not having enough teeth?
Well, I think one of the things that happens often is the public's not really aware. I make a recommendation for whether or not allegations should be sustained and disciplined in just about every case, definitely in every Class A, in the serious cases. But the public cannot hear about that or know about that or what my reasoning was unless the chief gives the person at least 1 day suspension. So it's not that sometimes things are not occurring, it's just that under the law, I'm not allowed to comment on it. The panel also often makes recommendations that the public never hears about, and one of the things we're trying to address in the newest meet and confer is the public will now hear about it, and I think that goes towards transparency and accountability.
Regardless of discipline or not, then we'll get to hear what your recommendation would be.
And we'll get to hear what the panel's recommendation will be. They still won't get to hear what mine was
Unless there's
a day of suspension.
As far as the recommendations go, is it either, can it be a number of things, or is it either we recommend he's fired or recommend he's not? Is it those two options, or can there be several options?
They have the full range of discipline.
Okay.
Everything from reprimand to indefinite suspension on the other end.
Okay.
Margo.
Sometimes the panel also recommends, in particular cases, recommends things like training, counseling, things like that.
Margo, is there the chance that a recommendation has cumulatively already been concluded on the part of the panel just tonight?
I would say not at this point, because the panel, they're kind of like a jury. They don't talk about the particulars of the case until they've had the full presentation. But, you know, it may very well be that they will reach a decision tonight, but it won't be able to be publicly known. And they're prohibited by law from commenting, as am I. All right?
Thank
Let me
you.
get back to work, guys.